Street thief versus police dog. You won't believe what happened next. A desperate thief thought he could escape through the crowded streets, but he didn't expect a sharp-eyed canine police dog to be right on his trail. What happened next will shock you. It was a typical late afternoon in the city. The streets were alive with the usual sounds: cars honking, people chatting, and the distant melody of a street musician playing his guitar. The sky was slightly cloudy, casting a soft golden hue over the sidewalks. Among the crowd was a 12-year-old girl, Hannah, walking home from school. She clutched her small purse tightly against her side. It wasn't much, just some money, her school ID, and a small keychain her mother had given her. But to her, it was important. Not far from her, Officer Ryan and his loyal canine partner, Max, were on patrol. Ryan had been a police officer for nearly 10 years, and Max had been by his side for the last 3. The bond between them was unbreakable. They had been through high-speed chases, dangerous arrests, and long, quiet nights of duty together. Max walked beside Ryan with an alert posture, his trained eyes scanning the area. To most people, it was just another day, but Max's instincts told him to always be ready. Hannah's mind was elsewhere. She was thinking about a school project due the next day, completely unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Just across the street, a man on a black motorcycle revved his engine. His eyes locked onto Hannah's purse. He had been watching her for a while, waiting for the perfect moment. Ryan and Max continued their patrol, greeting shop owners and nodding to pedestrians. But Max suddenly stopped. His ears perked up, and he let out a low growl. Something was off. Ryan noticed the change in Max's behavior. "What is it, buddy?" he asked, looking around. Max's sharp eyes darted toward the motorcycle. He could sense something, a tension in the air, a shift in movement. But before anyone could react, it happened. The roar of the motorcycle shattered the calm. In an instant, the thief sped past Hannah, yanking the purse from her hands. The force knocked her off balance, sending her stumbling backward. "Hey, stop!" she cried out, but the thief was already racing away. For a moment, she was frozen in shock. Her heart pounded. She had never been in a situation like this before. People around her gasped, but no one moved fast enough to do anything. But Max did. Before Ryan even gave the command, Max launched forward. His sharp instincts told him that this was no ordinary moment. This was his job. "Max, go!" Ryan shouted, already running. Max took off at lightning speed, his powerful legs propelling him forward. The thief might have had a motorcycle, but Max had something stronger: determination, training, and an unbreakable bond with his handler. Ryan radioed in the crime as he sprinted after Max. "Suspect on a black motorcycle, heading east, K9 in pursuit." Hannah watched, her fear turning into hope. Could they really catch him? The motorcycle weaved through traffic, but Max never lost sight of it. His ears were pinned back, his breath steady as he ran full speed. Every second mattered. The thief glanced in his side mirror. He hadn't expected a dog to be after him, and certainly not one moving this fast. "You gotta be kidding me!" The thief muttered under his breath, gripping the handlebars tighter. He swerved, trying to shake Max off. But Max wasn't slowing down. He could smell the thief's scent, track the motion of the bike, and anticipate his next move. Ryan, still running, shouted into his radio, "Suspect heading into side streets. We need backup. K9 in pursuit." The chase was on. Back on the sidewalk, Hannah was trembling. She watched Max and Officer Ryan disappear into the distance, her heart pounding. A woman nearby placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "They'll get him, sweetheart. That's what they do." Hannah nodded, trying to hold back tears. She had never lost anything important before, and now in just seconds everything felt different. But as she looked at the street, she realized something. This wasn't just about her purse anymore. This was about right and wrong, about justice. And she hoped more than anything that Max would win. Max was closing in. His powerful legs barely touched the ground as he sprinted, his eyes locked on the thief. The thief spotted an alleyway up ahead, a chance to escape. He turned sharply, the tires screeching as he disappeared into the narrow passage. For a second, it seemed like he might get away. But Max had other plans. He didn't hesitate. He bolted into the alley, using his powerful nose to track the thief, even when he was out of sight. Ryan kept up the pace, shouting, "Max, corner him!" This wasn't just about catching a thief anymore. It was about showing the city, showing Hannah, that no one gets away with hurting the innocent. In the alley, the thief realized his mistake. The narrow walls left him no room to turn the bike around. He was trapped. And in that moment of hesitation, Max struck. With a calculated leap, Max latched onto the thief's arm, forcing him to lose control. The motorcycle skidded, slamming into the wall. The thief hit the ground with a thud, groaning in pain. "Don't move," Ryan's voice boomed. As he caught up, the thief tried to push Max away, but the dog held firm, his powerful jaws keeping the criminal pinned. He wasn't letting go. Ryan swiftly handcuffed the man, pressing him against the ground. "You thought you could outrun the law? Guess you didn't count on Max." Max stood tall, his chest rising and falling with deep breaths. But his eyes never left the thief. His job wasn't done until Ryan said so. And then a voice from behind them. "You got him." Hannah. She stood at the alley entrance, her eyes wide with awe. Ryan picked up her purse from the ground and handed it back to her. "Thanks to Max, you got everything back." Hannah clutched it tightly and looked at Max. The dog, her hero, wagged, his tail slightly sensing her relief. And in that moment she knew this wasn't just any dog. Max was a protector. A fighter, a true hero. The thief groaned as he struggled to his feet, clutching his sore arm. His motorcycle was totaled, lying in a heap against the alley wall. He glanced down at Max, who stood just a few feet away, eyes locked onto him like a hunter watching its prey. The dog's muscles were tense, ready for any sudden movement. For a split second, the thief hesitated. Could he escape? His eyes darted to a small fire escape ladder nearby. It was old and rusted, but if he could just reach it. Then, in the distance, the sound of sirens grew louder. "Damn it!" he cursed under his breath. He had to move now. Max let out a low, warning growl, sensing the thief's next move before it even happened. Then, the thief bolted. Ryan had seen enough. Criminals to know one thing, they always ran. "Max, track him," he commanded. Instantly, Max sprang into action, his powerful nose locking onto the thief's scent. His paws pounded against the pavement as he pursued, following every twist and turn. The chase was back on. The thief burst out of the alleyway and into the open streets, weaving between pedestrians and parked cars. People gasped as he shoved past them, knocking over a fruit stand in his desperation. Oranges and apples rolled across the pavement, adding to the chaos. Max, undeterred, leapt over the scattered fruit with ease. His eyes never left the thief. Ryan radioed for backup as he sprinted behind them. "Suspect on foot, heading east on 5th Avenue. K9 still in pursuit." The thief glanced back, his heart hammering. He had outrun cops before, but this dog was relentless. Sweat dripped down the thief's face as he searched for an escape route. He needed to disappear, fast. Up ahead he spotted a construction site, a maze of scaffolding, cement blocks, and half-built walls. "Perfect," he muttered. Without hesitation, he darted inside. Max skidded to a halt for a split second, sniffing the air. His ears twitched. He could hear the thief's rapid footsteps echoing through the unfinished structure. Ryan caught up, panting. "Max, find him!" Max sniffed the ground, nose twitching as he followed the scent trail into the construction zone. The thief thought he had the advantage, but what he didn't know was that K9s are trained for exactly this kind of situation. The thief scrambled through the construction site, ducking behind steel beams and stacks of lumber. He peeked around a corner, breathing hard. For a moment, it was silent. No sirens, no shouting. Then a soft growl echoed through the unfinished building. His blood ran cold. Slowly he turned his head. Max was there, crouched low, muscles coiled like a spring, ready to strike. The thief's mind raced. He had seen K9s on TV before. He knew what they could do. and he knew he didn't stand a chance. Desperate, the thief made a break for it, sprinting toward the other end of the site where an open fence led back to the street. But Max was faster. In a flash, Max lunged, closing the distance in seconds. Before the thief could leap over the fence, Max clamped his powerful jaws around his jacket sleeve, yanking him backward. The thief yelled as he hit the ground, trying to shake Max off. But the dog held firm, his grip like steel. Ryan rushed in, gun drawn. "Stay down, don't move." Max let out a warning growl, making it clear this chase was over. The thief lay still, his breath ragged. He knew there was no getting away. "Tao?" Ryan swiftly cuffed his wrists, pressing him against the pavement. "You're under arrest for theft, resisting arrest, and fleeing from law enforcement." The thief glared at Max, his frustration clear. "Damn dog," he muttered. Ryan smirked. "That damn dog just caught you. You might want to show some respect." Max stood tall, ears perked, watching his handler. He knew he had done his job. Nearby sirens grew louder as backup finally arrived. One officer stepped out of the patrol car, taking in the scene. "Let me guess, Max got him?" Ryan chuckled, patting Max's head. As always, a small crowd had gathered at the edge of the construction site, including Hannah. When she spotted Ryan and Max, she broke into a run. "Did you catch him?" she asked, eyes wide with hope. Ryan smiled and motioned toward the handcuffed thief. "Max got him." Hannah's face lit up with pure admiration. She looked down at Max, her hands trembling as she reached out to pet him. "You're amazing, Max," she whispered. Max wagged his tail, sensing her relief. Ryan handed Hannah her purse, now slightly dirty, but still intact. "This belongs to you." She hugged it to her chest, tears welling up in her eyes. For her, it wasn't just about the stolen purse, it was about feeling safe again, and it was all thanks to Max, the hero of the streets. Hannah's heart pounded as she pushed through the crowd, her legs shaking from exhaustion and fear. She had followed the sirens, hoping, praying, that the thief had been caught. When she finally reached the construction site, her breath hitched. There he was, the man who had stolen her purse, face down on the ground, hands cuffed behind his back. A few feet away stood Max, chest heaving from the chase, his golden-brown coat gleaming under the flashing red and blue lights. Hannah's eyes instantly filled with tears of relief. She didn't care about her purse anymore. She cared about the fact that this nightmare was finally over. Ryan noticed Hannah standing there, frozen, her hands trembling. He approached her gently, pulling her purse from his belt. "I believe this belongs to you," he said, handing it over. Hannah took it with shaky hands, clutching it against her chest. Thank you so much." She turned to Max, her eyes glistening. "And you?" She knelt, extending a hand. Max, sensing her gratitude, stepped forward and nuzzled her palm, his tail wagging softly. A choked sob escaped Hannah's lips. For the first time since the attack, she felt safe again. Ryan crouched beside Max, rubbing the dog's ears affectionately. "You did good, buddy," he whispered. Max's tongue lolled out as he panted, eyes bright with pride. He had done his job, just like he was trained to do. Hannah wiped her tears and looked up at Ryan. "How does he do it?" she asked, wonder in her voice. "How does he know exactly what to do?" Ryan chuckled. "That's what makes K9s so special. They're not just dogs, they're officers. They're trained to protect, to track, and to never give up." Hannah gazed at Max with newfound respect. "He's incredible," she murmured. Max wagged his tail proudly. Ryan stood up, glancing at the small crowd that had gathered. "People," whispered among themselves, pointing at Max with admiration. One young boy, no older than 10, tugged at his father's sleeve. "Dad, I want to be a K9 officer when I grow up." Ryan smiled. This was why K9s were so important, not just for catching criminals, but for inspiring people. He looked back at Hannah. K9s are more than just police dogs. They save lives, solve crimes, and protect the innocent. He glanced down at Max. And they ask for nothing in return except loyalty. Hannah nodded, a soft smile forming on her lips. She understood that now. Nearby, the thief sat against the patrol car, his hands still cuffed. His cocky smirk had disappeared. He looked at Max, then at Ryan, and scoffed. "I never thought her dog would be the reason I got caught." Ryan crossed his arms. "That's because you underestimated him." The thief shook his head, staring at Max with a mix of annoyance and reluctant admiration. "Yeah, I guess I did." Max tilted his head. His deep brown eyes locked onto the thief as if he understood every word. For the first time, the thief felt a twinge of regret. Maybe, if he had made different choices, he wouldn't be in this position. But tonight, the lesson was clear. You can run from the law, but you can't outrun justice. Hannah knelt beside Max again, stroking his soft fur. "I was so scared, Max. But you didn't stop. You kept going. For me." Max licked her hand, his way of saying, "I will always protect you." She smiled, the last bit of fear fading from her heart. Before tonight, she had never thought much about police dogs. But now she knew. These dogs weren't just trained animals. They were heroes. As the officers loaded the thief into the back of the patrol car, Ryan gave Max one last pat. "Another job well done, partner." The officers exchanged nods, a silent respect passing between them. Max had done what no human officer could. He had tracked, chased, and caught a criminal with nothing but instinct and loyalty. Justice had been served, and all because of one determined K9. As the patrol cars drove away, the city settled back into its usual rhythm. The crowd slowly dispersed, murmuring about the bravery of the K9 unit. Ryan clipped Max's leash back on and scratched behind his ears. "Ready to go home, buddy?" Max wagged his tail, his tongue hanging out in contentment. Hannah gave him one last smile. "Thank you, Max." The golden retriever gave a happy bark before following Ryan toward their patrol car, his head held high. For Max, tonight was just another shift. Another day of protecting and serving. But for Hannah, it was a night she would never forget. The police station buzzed with quiet activity as officers processed the latest arrests. The thief sat in a holding cell, his head bowed, his hands resting limply on his knees. The cocky defiance he had shown earlier was nowhere to be seen. Ryan stood outside the cell, arms crossed. "How you thought you could outrun the law? You were wrong." The thief scoffed but didn't meet Ryan's gaze. He knew he had lost. Another officer approached. "We checked his record. This isn't his first offense, but thanks to Max it might be his last." Ryan glanced down at his loyal partner, who sat obediently by his side, ears perked. Max had done his job, and justice had been served. Now the law would take care of the rest. Outside the station, a small crowd had gathered, eager to see the hero who had taken down the thief. The story of the fearless K9 had spread quickly. People clapped and cheered as Ryan and Max stepped out. "That dog deserves a medal," someone shouted. Ryan chuckled, patting Max's back. "He doesn't need a medal, just a good belly rub and some rest." Max let out a happy bark, his tail wagging in excitement. He didn't care for attention. For him, the job was reward enough. Back at the K9 unit, Ryan poured fresh water into Max's bowl and set down a juicy steak, a special treat for a job well done. Max's ears perked up and his tail thumped against the floor. He sniffed the steak eagerly, then looked up at Ryan, waiting for permission. Ryan smiled. "Go ahead, buddy, you've earned it." Max needed no further encouragement. He dug into the steak with pure joy, savoring every bite. Ryan knelt beside him, rubbing his back. "You're the best partner I could ask for, Max." The golden retriever licked his lips, then nudged Ryan's hand as if to say, "And you're the best partner I could ask for, too." Later that evening, a soft knock echoed through the K9 unit's office. Ryan opened the door to find Hannah standing there, holding a small bag. She smiled shyly. "I wanted to thank Max properly." Ryan stepped aside, letting her in. Max, now rested, lifted his head. As soon as he saw Hannah, his tail started wagging. She knelt, reaching into the bag. "I got something for you." She pulled out a brand new chew toy, shaped like a little golden trophy. "Because you're a hero, Max." Max sniffed the toy, then gently took it from her hand, his tail wagging even faster. Hannah stroked his fur, her voice soft. "I was so scared when that thief ran off with my bag. But knowing you were out there, I didn't feel alone." Max leaned into her touch, offering the comfort only a loyal dog could give. Back at the jail, the thief stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. He had spent his life running, believing he could outsmart the system. But tonight, a dog had outsmarted him. He exhaled sharply, shaking his head. Taken down by a canine, as I guess I really was a fool. For the first time, he wondered if things could have been different. If he had made better choices, maybe he wouldn't be sitting here now. But regret couldn't undo the past. And Max had made sure he wouldn't hurt anyone else again. Ryan watched as Hannah and Max bonded. He had seen it before, how people's perceptions changed after witnessing a K9 in action. Hannah looked up at him. "I never realized how important police dogs were until today. They don't just chase bad guys. They give people hope." Ryan nodded. "That's exactly why we do what we do. K9s aren't just enforcers. They're protectors, rescuers, and even friends." Hannah smiled, stroking Max's head. "He's not just a dog. He's a hero." Max let out a soft woof, as if agreeing. As Hannah left the station, the city lights glowed softly around her. Her heart felt lighter. The fear that had gripped her earlier had been replaced by something else, strength. She had been a victim once, but thanks to Max, she had found her courage again. And from now on, whenever she saw a police dog on duty, she would always remember the golden retriever who had protected her when she needed it most. Ryan watched as Hannah disappeared into the night, then turned to Max. The retriever sat proudly by his side, his tail swishing against the ground. Ryan chuckled. "You ready for the next case, partner?" Max barked once, his ears perking up. He was always ready, because for a K9, the mission never truly ends. And as long as there were people who needed protecting, Max would always be there.